Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Rooted Creative Podcast. I am here with Shay from the Bucket List Bombshells. She is one of the coolest people. Their business, her and Cass, they have an amazing business helping women launch online courses, or I guess men and women, right? Or mostly women?
Mostly women, but men are not discriminated against.
All right. Good. I have her on today to talk more about what it's like to be producing and marketing online products, because we are in a digital world, and it's such an amazing opportunity for so many business owners, including photographers, I believe, as well. So Shay, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm stoked you're here. Share a little bit about you and introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm really excited to be on your podcast and just be here sharing with your community. I know that there's been a lot of photographers in our community that have grown their online businesses, and there's kind of a unique incorporation between you guys doing your work in person and what that can translate into online. So I'm excited to get into it today, but I'll rewind and kind of tell you guys a little bit about myself and about what we do and kind of the community that we've built. And then, so thank you for having me. So as Danny said, I am Shay. I am one of the founders of the Bucket List Bombshells. My other half is named Cassie. And we started this company about almost a decade ago. So it has been a long, fun journey for us. We had service-based businesses. We were just getting started in the online world as social media managers and graphic designers. We were like in our early 20s, traveling the world. We didn't really meet anybody else sort of doing this online service-based work. And we were really figuring out how to find and land clients and create services, price, deliver services virtually or digitally. At the time, remote work was not a thing. And so long story long, we ended up becoming mentors or teachers sort of to women we were meeting as we were traveling. And this is really what formed the foundation and the basis of what we now call the Bucket List Bombshells Academy. So inside of our academy, we have basically an online business school. We have foundational skills courses in tech and design to help you learn the skills you need that you can sell as services. And then we have our signature program, which is our online business skills program. And that is where we help you build the structure around your services, around your pricing, finding and landing clients, client workflows, different things like that, and basically how to continue to grow your business online. So that is really our primary community and focus. We have about 100,000 women in our community, from our free Facebook groups to our 10,000 students that we have in the academy. And just last year, we added 8 new programs, and we call them accelerator or booster courses. And it's really now for our students who have now been doing it for 5 years now, and they're ready to start growing to that next level. We decided to meet them where they were at. We sat down with them and we created this new course lineup, what we like to call booster accelerator courses, to sort of take you for that next level once you've become full-time in your business. And so that's really what our foundational community and business is about with the Bucket List Bombshells Academy. And then a passion project, and something that I was really excited about that we launched this year, is called the Bucket List Bombshells Collective. And this is your holistic business growth community and monthly membership community and business growth sort of mastermind program that we're doing on a mass scale. Instead of it being a small group program, we are doing master classes, workshops, live events, book clubs that are actually like masterminding off of book club. And I host those. each month. It brings me so much joy. We're growing it right now. We have about 300 members and growing. And that has been such an exciting place to really take our community in that 6-month to 2-year mark and really help them scale up from that 4 to 5 to 6-figure mark once they have the foundation coming out of the academy, or if you already had a business and you want to join. So that is really the direction that we've taken it now, is more of this, and I'd love to continue to speak on this, is the one-on-one or more high touch point services, which is really trending this year, and giving access at a lower price point with more content and more higher touch point access, while it's still being feasible for us as a business owner and the teacher to provide. So really excited about that, but I could chat business all day long. So that is like the business side of it. And then just a little personal tidbits of mine is that my name is Shay. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, or Vancouver Island, a small town. So I'm a small town girl who loves to travel. I'm currently living in Mexico in Playa del Carmen, kind of setting my home base here post-pandemic, getting those tropical vibes back in my life and loving it. I am a foodie, coffee lover, love architecture, love dogs, puppies, chocolate, and weekend trips. So just as like, it's fun to just have like a little insight into who I am outside of, the business. So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. How fun that you're like just living your best life down there.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's so cool that your business has allowed you to do that. You've been able to build a business where you can pretty much live anywhere and it doesn't matter, and I guess kind of more on that, because trust me, I would love to talk business with you all day, and we're going to for the next hour, but, and I actually want to pick your brain a little bit more on, having that membership as opposed to having like maybe an online course or something like that. So, but I know that you're passionate about having a holistic business that can support you obviously financially and mentally. Can you explain a little bit more about like that and where your passion for that came from?
Yeah, for sure. And this is really what is the reason I developed the Bucket List Bombshells collective that Cassie and I developed, is because I think that now more than ever, especially after the pandemic, when we all had time to sort of look at our lives and the things that we prioritize and the things that, matter the most in the world, especially when you're in this sort of like intense scenario where health is involved, there's sort of a global crisis, economy stuff, and you really kind of have to look at what matters the most in your life. And I really think this was ramping up pre-pandemic, but I think the pandemic really amplified the sort of burnout rate that a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners were feeling. And I think there was a lot that had to do with, social media becoming this, super sort of inauthentic, but then like kind of transparent thing. And so you had to maneuver, and basically you were online. If you had an online business, you almost had to show your entire life. You had to be on 24/7. You're always thinking about how to grow and scale. And you see these masterminds, it's like 10x your business. And it's like, do you really sit back and ask yourself, do I want to 10x my business? What is that going to bring? Like, does it bring me joy? And I think that we make a lot of sacrifices in this area as business owners, and then we reach a point of burnout and we don't really set ourselves up before that point or make decisions before that point. And so what I have found just from my own personal experience going through burnout and going from like scaling a company and then choosing to almost scale back my life and the company and focus in on what were the values and what were the things and products and services that aligned for me, that were bringing me joy. I felt very disconnected, from what it was that we're producing and how I was being able to connect and show up for our audience. And I think when you're in an online business, especially digital products, which I know that you had mentioned earlier on, like wanting to chat about, like, what does that look like? I think that you go into it and you don't really consider the other aspects of your life that fill your cup. And that's where my perspective has really changed around running a business, and that there's like pillars in my life and now inside of the collective that I focus on, and I treat them equally. So you have your business pillar, your bottom line, your profit pillars, but you also have your wellness, whether that's like mentally, physically, spiritually. I have my wellness pillar, I have my education pillar, that's just a part of who I am and the type of community I want to build. I really value knowledge and education and making sure that you feel like you're expanding and growing, whether that's professionally or personally. And then community, especially after the pandemic, everything moved online, and we really had to learn how to have online communities, and online communities is different. I think there's some really beautiful positive things, and then there's still a need for taking it offline. So how is community, which I would consider also my family in that, my friends in that, my business community, what is that? How can I treat these with an equality perspective to fill my cup so I can show up better as a business owner? I can show up, and when I have that space for myself, I show up with new ideas. I show up as my best version of myself because I'm taking care of the other pillars in my life, and I'm not allowing my business to run me. I'm running my business. And that was something that I wanted to create a community. And that's what we did with the collective around this concept, so that new business owners were considering these things in the growth stage of their business and realizing that you don't have to have this really intense hustle mode all the time, or looking to other people as to what it is that I need to do this because I read something or I saw a post, and then it's like I see on social media and I'm having a comparison. It's like, stay in your own lane. And what are your pillars? What are your values? What are the things that bring you joy? How can you bring those into your business? How can you separate yourself from your business? I think lifestyle businesses or business owners have, at least I did, a very hard time separating ourselves. And so when I talk about holistic businesses supporting us, that is really what I mean by that, is just identifying pillars that are outside of your, say, bottom line or your products and services that actually do help contribute to making your business better, but you're not doing it necessarily for that reason. So it's kind of like a chicken before the egg scenario.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't rest, then you're not going to be able to show up for people, right? Like if you don't have that community or people supporting you, you're not going to be able to show up, right? And I totally believe that. It's definitely a balance. I think that's super important. And it has to be definitely like incorporated with any business model. Like you have to have time for yourself. You can't do it on your own. And whether that's like hiring people to help you run it, like if you have this thriving business, I'm a firm believer in that too, like hiring people to help you and not doing it all yourself too.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And I love your outlook on that too. Like the pillar metaphor. I think that's fantastic. And I think we all need to apply that. So everybody listen up, apply those pillars. Okay. So on to digital products, because I know this is the juice. This is what everybody wants. Many of us are photographers listening to this in our community, and we don't necessarily run online businesses. We're more of a service. You explain to us the value of having online products or running a business online, and what that might look like for specific business owners like us who are service-based.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So it's interesting that you don't classify yourself, or maybe out there, as an online business owner. I would be curious what your setups are like with your client processes. Like, to me, I've seen photographers basically have their systems or client processes as well as their like intake forms. Maybe you're sharing, you have like a site, and then you have like the opportunity to share your photos online. And so I would change that mentality, because I think photographers, it's a really cool, unique scenario. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for digital products, which I want to get into with for you guys specifically. But I also think that you're almost like could be a hybrid model, where I understand you guys have to be in person for things, but you could have a lot of your stuff to free up your time. You could have a lot of your clients' systems and processes and how you're delivering things completely automated. So there's a lot of platforms out there, and I'm not a photographer, so I'm sure that you guys all know some of these, and I don't know all of the names, but there's things that I think Honeybook is one of them. There's and things like that. And I'm like, that's an online business to me. If you're collecting payment, you're doing your services, like you have like a foundation, which I think is a really cool place for you guys to move into a hybrid model with digital products. So when I think about a photography business and what that could look like, to the benefits of having a hybrid model is really to increase the revenue as well as the exposure and reaching wider audiences, because you have something that is, say, a digital download that can cross borders. You know what I mean? Like you can have a global audience, and then you could potentially end up having a situation, because I know a photographer where they now get flown out to destinations and they're like become a destination photographer. Or you could end up becoming a speaker at events because you created a brand, and maybe you become now a teacher in this kind of photography aspect. You could still have photography services, but some other in-person things is you could be hosting in-person workshops, or being, attending in-person conferences and speaking to it. So maybe you take your self out but from behind the camera and you start speaking to that. And the way to do that, to build a following, is to definitely utilize social media and other aspects to really present yourself. So maybe you present yourself in that way. And this is like, we'll get to digital products, don't worry, but this is like your sort of, if you wanted to create a really well-rounded business of services and position yourself as an expert, which is something that you do need to have as a foundation when you are moving into digital products. You need to have some sort of online presence and some sort of presence of, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to XYZ. You niche in something, maybe you specialize in a type of photography. There's some kind of unique knowledge that you have. And the reason I say that is because that's what you're going to take and put into a digital product. But to really get there, from my experience, and this is how I started out, I was just speaking to people and almost becoming a teacher. Like they would ask me questions, I would take them for coffee, we would do, little workshops and that kind of stuff to get started. And what I realized, I think that's really the first step to move into digital products for someone who has an in-person type of business, like a photographer. It would really be like, come and build a presence where you are speaking to your knowledge. Like you probably have so much knowledge about this, and don't be afraid to share that. Don't think like someone's going to take this, or there's too many people out there. Like if there's already someone doing it, it means that there is a place for you to be there. There is a bajillion people in the world, or however many people are in the world. So come out behind that camera. I keep using this analogy. I'm not saying you guys are hiding behind your cameras. I don't know. I've really hooked onto this analogy. So start trying to create, if your goal is to have a hybrid model, which is going to essentially increase your revenue. That's really the main reason for doing a hybrid model, is to also diversify your revenue streams. For example, if another pandemic happens and you can't do in-person photography, then how can you supplement that income? How can you create a more stable business? In any business model, in any industry, the number one way to create a stable revenue, is to have diversification in your income stream. So for example, Bucket List Bombshells has, we have a complete course suite. So we have for the newbies, we have for the next level, and now we have a membership. So these are different products that we're diversifying. We've done in the past, before, when in person, we've done like travel experiences and co-working experiences, and they were in person. So you're always thinking, okay, what can I do to diversify my revenue streams? We also do collaborations, we do affiliate stuff. You got to think kind of outside the box, and they're still under your business. You're not starting a new business. So as a photographer, the first step is to really kind of start talking and utilizing the knowledge that you have. Start creating a presence for yourself, start trying to get speaking events, or just use social media to be a platform for you to share this, because digital products are primarily focused around teaching something. Although there are some suggestions I have for you as photographers that aren't to do with teaching subjects, which I think is really cool because you guys have the visual aspect.
Too.
So,
Yeah.
so let's say you want a hybrid model, you want diversified revenue streams for stability so that you're not confined to being in person. That would be, in my opinion, that's going to be anything from a PDF book, kind of like maybe your audience is you want to teach other photographers, you want to give other photographers information, how you do things. Maybe you have a really amazing client workflow and it can be like a paid, like a template they purchase from you. You do like a one-on-one session with them to implement it. So you can also do hybrid of in-person, which is my version of in-person is on Zoom. Like Zoom and like templates and PDFs, and that's very knowledge based. You could also do that in a full course if you felt like you wanted to make the commitment of doing, like you want to teach someone how to be a photographer, or you want to teach something. Maybe there's a type of editing. I don't know all the ins and outs of photography. Maybe there's a type of like post photography editing that you want to specialize in your audience's photographers. But maybe you want to use the visual aspect, and you can actually create, they're called like flat lays. Like, so someone like me who's techie and doesn't have, and wants to build a website, I go to like the stock photo sites and I'm downloading stock photos, and they're really, a lot of those are just submitted or uploaded by regular photographers that are staging, stage your home, and you take photos and you edit them, and then people buy like little photo packages and different things. And then you're opening up your audience to people who are not photographers. So someone like me, as say I'm designing a website, or even as a course creator, you could specialize in like stock photography for course creators. And you could go in and like figure out what they need and, just do some interviewing, call some people up in your target audience, find out what they need. And you could have little downloadable things. I go to Creative Market, and you can put it on Creative Market. I download a lot of stuff off Creative Market. And you can create different things like that from the visual perspective as well. So I think that with photography, you guys have a creative aspect too. You already have an eye for design. You already have an eye for the visual and the creatives. And so if you go online and you find, especially something like Creative Market or stock photography sites, maybe start your own stock photography site, that's what I think I don't think they have it anymore, but blogettes who then turned to Stocks That Rock. I think that's how they started out. They had their own digital download stock photography site. You paid like $97 a month as a member. So it's like a recurring membership model, which I love. And that's definitely trending this year. So I paid $97 a month, and every month I could download 50 photos, and they would upload new collections, like a certain number of collections. And they were super cute. They were definitely targeted for like the type of style that I like. And like the color palettes, and they had a wide variety from like fitness photos to cafe photos to business photos. So you can sell your photos too. So that's definitely something that you guys could do as well. And that's considered digital products. And it can be a one-time, or it could be membership. So I think that there's a lot of stuff that you could sell. Either you kind of have two audiences. You could sell to other photographers because you're a photographer, so you know what you need. What do you know? Like, is it expertise, like knowledge that you want to, do you want to teach, or do you want to create templates, download stuff that's a little bit more hands off, but you've really tailored? Or you can use your photos and sell your photos to non-photographers. So I really think that there's such a cool opportunity for photographers to have a hybrid business model.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually, stock photos, like a lot of photographers sleep on that. We don't use our photos for stock photos, but even like nature photos. So I'm an elopement photographer. I travel pretty much everywhere. I take, photos in beautiful places. Like if you do that, you could also just, upload those to stock photos, and they could just even be like prints or like digital prints on Etsy, that type of thing too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea though. And I love that.
Yeah, I love that because if you're already on location in a destination, just spend an extra day there, and then you do it like take all your photos there, and then you're kind of like two birds, one stone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I will say that there are a lot of photographers that are interested in putting out guides, but I think
Mm,
the issue that we're running into is actually selling it. So, what is your
mm,
biggest piece of advice for launching something like a guide
yeah,
with the greatest success type of deal? Is it
yeah.
funnels? Is it freebies? What does that look like, I guess?
Yeah, yes, that's such a great question. And I feel like now that there is so much more digital content, digital products, there's definitely a finesse to the sales structure. Like you definitely need to have this sort of unique factor. What is it about your brand that someone is gravitating towards? Why are they coming to you? And is there a way that definitely you use a funnel like a free offer if you're like doing an evergreen funnel and you're going to have this thing, offered year round, it's available on your site. People are not just going to come and purchase it. They really are you're going to need to do some sort of, you know, nurture building, I guess I would call it. And the best way to do that is to get some on your email list. So for a guide, something like that, it's kind of that's usually what you use as a freebie. So like a
Yeah.
smaller version of a guide to then be able to get them to kind of a higher price point item, which could be in the $47 to $97 range. And then from there, pitching them into, if you have a course, the next level. So you kind of want to go up by levels in terms of how you're taking someone through a funnel. I would definitely say that you have a guide that's less than $47, you don't need a free offer. What I would say is you would need to really utilize your Instagram or your TikTok or your YouTube, utilize your social media, because under the $47 price point, it's not really a hard sell. And so I don't really think that there's a need for you to have sort of that first layer. I think in that regard, it would be you're almost using that. So instead of using a freebie, a lot of people, their first funnel touch point is going to be that low price point offer.
Mm,
So instead of kind of trying to promote a free offer, you promote this less than $40, usually around like this, let's say the $20 price point, I would say. You're promoting that. So you're utilizing your channels of communication to promote this. And then when you're promoting something that is paid, you already know that they are willing to pay you for whatever exchange of information it is or services or whatever. And it does build a stronger relationship, in my opinion, nowadays, especially because we need more touch points, which I'll get into further throughout the funnel. But you sort of, the freebie model is, in my opinion, dying out a little bit,
mm,
because anybody will sign up for something that's free. And unless your freebie is very targeted, that the person who's downloading it, you've created it so that it's going to be someone who is going to purchase later. So that's like really knowing your target audience. And not that you still need to do that with your paid product, but when someone is purchasing something, they're definitely going through the checklist in their mind if it's the right fit for them to purchase it. Versus the freebie, it's really like anybody kind of out there, if it sounds interesting, it sounds cool, you market it well, they're going to sign up for it. And then you still have to do the legwork on the other side of it to continue down the sales funnel. So with your email list. So I would actually really like starting with a low price point offer in your product ladder, and that sort of being your base, and you market that almost everywhere, and you kind of and this is the evergreen, and we'll get into launches of your higher price point items. You don't not market those, but on an evergreen basis, if you just focused in and honed in on one thing, which is also something that I'm now saying this as of this year, there's there's too much out there decision fatigue in the online world now. If you can just really hone in on like, this is the one thing I talk about in terms of a paid product, instead of like, here's all the products I have, I'm going to promote them 24, like all the time, like buy from this, buy this, buy this. That strategy, in my opinion, is no longer working. I think if someone is following you and you can just be really like clear, like this is the next step you need. Cause that's usually what happens. Someone's following you, you're giving them information. They want to know, okay, how can I do this? What's the next step? Great. The next step is to purchase this guide that I have, or this template that should come with some sort of teaching style, teaching a component. This is your next step. It's $27. If you want to get started, this is what you do. That way, the time that you're spending marketing that, you're getting that return on investment versus a free offer that you then have to continue on. So the second part of the funnel is the same as doing a free offer, but I really like, and this is kind of what I've been talking about more and more, is having a low ticket offer to get someone highly qualified to continue down your sales funnel. So then after you have something like that, that's wherever you're promoting, whether that's on social media, when you're on podcasts, when you're doing PR, whenever you're talking about your business, you always talk about this one offer. And then you want to go further up the funnel. So once they're on your email list and they've completed, like maybe your guide takes, you just average it like 1 to 3 days. And I know that the person has probably read it, maybe tried to implement it. You want to be following up with them, checking in. How did it go? Did they implement it? Did they not? If they didn't, why? Like, it's really data gathering at this point. So you can really refine your sales funnel, and you'll continue to use that data month after month to refine that funnel. And so there you can start saying, oh, okay, so you probably saw success with this, or you probably implemented this. You might have questions still about XYZ. Here's my next product. And usually that's in the like 197 to like maybe 397 range. And then from there, you would have something that's like a signature program that's off of that. You sort of just follow that funnel. But in between, you're doing lead nurturing, which I kind of referenced at the beginning. And so that's where you are sending them free content in between each of these steps. So you're doing your check-ins, you're gathering data, and then they don't take the bite. Some of them are going to go immediately to the next step. That's great. They don't, then send them free content, get them to trust you, send them more advice, more resources, and then pitch again. So I would say after like 2 to 3 pieces of free content, go in with the pitch for the next thing. They've like no trust factor, because this is a proven marketing study from like years. It's spot on, is that you need 7 touch points before someone might make the sale, like might make the purchase. The average person, there's lots of the people that are just going to buy. They're like, they're not price sensitive. They're not really like no trust sensitive, but the average person needs to interact with you 7 times before they make a purchase. That doesn't mean you need 7 emails, because they might interact with you on your social media. Then you've got your email. They've got like that paid offer. Maybe there's something else you're doing. You send like 3 emails, not like you have to send 7 touch point emails. You kind of have to just put yourself in their mindset and think, okay, it's okay if they don't make the sale right away. You're nurturing them. And then they enroll in your next offer. And then, okay, how long does this offer sort of take to complete? Great. How can I, have touch points along the way where I'm checking in, like seeing if they implement, and so on and so forth. And you just replicate that nurturing throughout and move them through your product ladder, so that over time, the lifetime value of your customer is that they've purchased everything. And your return on the time that you spend on that one customer to purchase everything is going to be greater than trying to sell cold all of your products to new people that are like coming in all the time. That's why I always say, just start on the outside to the largest audience, something small, get them into your funnels, and then that's your hot leads, and you start working them through your funnels. And something else I wanted to mention was, I talked a lot about like all these touch points. That is a lot different than strategies that have been successful in the past for online products and online, say, courses. You know, when I got into the industry, it was new. You could use any marketing tactic you wanted to close a sale, and you didn't really have to have much touch points after that with digital products. Now, one of the trends that I'm seeing throughout this year or last year and this year is that people want to know you. They want a more personal interaction. And so the way to be able to do that through a digital product where you're not one-on-one coaching them is to have more email connection, or even to check in, get their Instagram handle and send them a personalized note, send them a personal check-in. And it sounds time consuming, but in the beginning, I think that once you start to scale, you hire teams, you can implement this with a team. It doesn't always have to be you. But that is really, I would say, one of my biggest pieces of advice I'm also giving this year is like, you need more personal touch points
Mm.
in a way that's still manageable for you. But at the end of the day, this is what people want, because they're just not connecting anymore with digital products without that sort of touch point aspect to it.
I actually completely agree with that. I think there is a lot of fatigue when it comes to knowing like when we're getting an automated email or automated pitch or something like that, or check-in. And I think going personal and going a step further is going to go a lot farther, whether that's even like sending them a handwritten note. I mean, that might be a little
Yeah.
much, but if you have a
No.
team to do it, like
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Mm-hmm.
everything that you just said, funnel wise, I'm
Mm.
like here for, because right now everybody is either putting out a guide and then they're depending on that to be like their passive income, right? And I'm
Mm.
always like, well, what about your current customers that you already have and your current clients? Like,
Mhm.
how else can you be serving them? Don't, let those people
Mhm.
just kind of sit there. And I think that's a big misconception in our community too. It's like, put out this
Ah.
guide for passive income and then
Ah.
that's it, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So having like something low price point too has
Mhm.
actually proven to be really successful in my business as well. So everything that you said, go back and listen to that, whoever's listening to this, because everything that she just said is so freaking valuable. Thank you
Thank
for sharing
you.
that. And also
Thank
just going
you.
so in depth on that. Like, I think we all appreciate that a lot.
Yes, I know I should have given you like a little asterisk. Like, when you invite me, I talk in detail. I always like podcast interviewers always say that to me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so detailed." It's just a personality trait. So I'm here for it.
I am too. Honestly, it was so enlightening. I'm sitting there like, if you're not watching this on YouTube, I'm sitting there with
Oh.
like hand on chin, like nodding, like, yeah. Oh my gosh, that makes sense. Okay, well, that was really insightful. So to follow up with that, you've worked
Mhm.
with thousands of small business owners. What's the
Mhm.
biggest struggle that you've commonly seen for like a lot of your students to be
Mhm.
successful? And what's your best advice for that?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing that I see is a lack of confidence, which really surprised me, because I always thought, especially because we do monthly coaching, like on video coaching with our students. They can show up, it's a Q&A, it's pretty much like a mastermind.
Mhm.
And I always thought in my head, I always thought it would be like a like finding clients or something. Like that's a common thing, but it's easy to get over once you have confidence.
Right.
And I thought, or it'd be like some business strategy that would be like this thing that everybody struggled with, and that's why no one was doing it or why they weren't successful. And I found out that like the number one thing that I coach on pretty much in my courses with my students is the lack of confidence, and a kind of juxtapositioning that of like versus like courage, and having courage, and confidence will come. So it's like so interesting that they come and they just lack the confidence to go out, to talk about themselves, to pitch their services, to put their website up, to even tell their parents about the business. Even now in this day and age where remote work and online businesses is a very now more accepted thing, that I think really surprised me too in the beginning, because my parents were always big, like be your own boss, like do your own thing, like go out and do it, whatever you do it for yourself. And so there was a lot in the beginning of like because we were so young and our audience was so young, of parents being like, what is this? So there's a little bit of that, but it was like, at the end of the day, it's the confidence I was very surprised on, that most of the people struggle with when they are struggling. My advice to them is to realize that you don't just wake up with confidence. No one does in anything. It could be, snowboarding to playing the piano to starting an online business. Confidence comes from experience. And the only way to get experience is to have the courage to go out and get it. And I think that that's really where I like to help reframe their mindset and say, where can we find the courage for you? Because confidence is a learned trait. Confidence will come when you've done 10 sales calls and you've landed, even two of them. Confidence will come when you've implemented the services. Maybe I would say the threshold is probably like after 5 clients. Your stuff, your processes, you have the skills. You're using that pillar of knowledge. You're continuing to improve your skills, and you get better and better and better. And that's where confidence comes from. If you play sports, I think that that's probably something you've noticed as well. When my students have played sports, it's a lot easier for them to see, oh yeah, like I started out not knowing anything about this particular sport. And the more I practice, I felt so confident. Now I could go, out on the soccer field, and like, it's just an unconscious confidence. You're like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm here for. And so confidence comes with experience. And that's when you're going to get confidence. In the beginning, what you need is courage. You need the courage to say, I'm going to do this, even though I'm scared. I'm going to do this because I know that what I want is on the other side of this fear. It's not a lack of confidence. It's actually fear holding you back. And the mindset things saying, I'm not good enough, comparison value. No one wants my services. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not experienced enough. These things that you're telling yourself are reinforcing the fear that this is going to be hard, that this is scary, that it's not going to work, because I know that you want this so badly to work. It's a completely understandable feeling when we want something so much, we almost, hold ourselves back and create barriers in our mind to going after it. And that's where I really help them get over over the fear. And I give them that courage and that encouragement, and help them get out there. And just once they land their first client, or once they put up their website and they have something tangible to show or do, you feel that spark. They feel it. I can see it in their demeanor and their energy and the way that they're like ready to go after the next one. And that's confidence. Eventually confidence comes. So I think a lot of the coaching I do with inside of our student communities is really about just helping them get over the fear that they can't do it, because they can. And so we go, deep into that.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome.
Yes. That's huge. Yes.
That's awesome. And I completely agree. I think if you're not confident and you can't sell it, like, if you don't believe in it, then you're not gonna be able to sell it. You have to believe in what you're doing. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So you've kind of hinted at this and talking about 2022 business strategies, online business memberships.
Yes.
I know you just had a live conference, like literally all on this, but in summary, what business strategies and trends do you actually see working this year and possibly like next year and in the future?
Yeah, I love this question. Yes, we did just hold our first annual conference called the Profit and Thrive Conference. It was connected and hosted through the Bucket List Bombshells Collective. And it was really exciting because we brought in a bunch of female CEOs in multiple different industries to talk on the trends of 2022, because this is just super interesting to me. So I have alluded to some of them here, so I'm going to summarize. I think I have like about 3 to 4 that I would say are the things that are trending now and will trend into the coming years for online businesses specifically. And so the first one is high touch point services. So people are, like you even mentioned, like they're just like getting fatigued by, the sell, and that like there's not this connectiveness anymore, and people are just, everything's online now, everything's digital. We're just sitting in, we're just sitting in our homes consuming all this online content. We're not having this interaction. We're not, I think a lot of times we're a little fatigued at maybe even self-paced, or like kind of, the accountability side of it, which is why our student communities are so thriving, because we have community igniters in there holding people accountable. I do like the lives. And I think that there needs to be a little bit more high touch point now. People want to know who you are, who they're buying from, and they want to feel like what they're purchasing is tailored to them. And you can still do this. And we talked about that in the funnel. You can still do this with digital products. It's adding different personal touch points along the way, whether that's check-ins from you personally or from your team. My students love my community igniters and my team members just as much as they love me. So that is definitely doable. Touch points in there if it's digital products we kind of talked on. But then if you are looking to expand and add new services, I would say look to what can you do can you do a group program? Can you do something where it's like the community membership, which is definitely the next trend, and that's how people are doing it, providing high touch point services on a mass scale for like a more affordable price point than, $1,000 one-on-one coaching or big group mastermind programs. People are doing that in memberships like what we created with the Bucket List Bombshells Collective. It's a lower price point, recurring monthly fee, and they get these live events, and you bring in other experts, you teach on, it's not always just you teaching on, and this is content that then lives there, and that creates such a valuable content hub for your membership. And what's great about that with the high touch point and the membership site is that you're able to speak to what's like the most up-to-date trend content concept in your industry, versus a lot of times when you're making digital products, you really have to think about, is this content evergreen? Will this strategy be applicable next year? Or then I need to go in and update that course next year, or digital product next year. You sort of have to think about it that way. Membership site, you're able to now, because everybody's super familiar with Zoom, you're able to now provide a high touch point option as well as up-to-date content, which I think is really, really cool. So I've seen a lot of people, Amy Porterfield has moved into having a membership site and content. I think she has some high touch point. It's definitely a different structure than what we're doing. It's definitely, she's taken almost her course content and created a membership site, which is something you can do, and then host live Q&As. There's still monthly high touch point service within that. The other aspect inside of a membership site that you can do for high touch point service, and we've almost like replicated Facebook groups inside of our community. So we have community groups, and in there, I can interact in we have groups under business, under travel, under interest, and then your community members are also connecting with each other. So it's not just has to be you with, say, quote unquote, a high touch point service. This community aspect or people aspect is becoming more important for your products and services. And I think now people are finding unique ways to do that with their digital products, which I talked a lot about that in the funnel earlier. And so I would say also a lot of people are starting group programs, or they're alongside their courses, they're now offering more calls. Like before, the standard was either no calls or monthly calls. Now I've noticed a lot of course creators are adding weekly or bi-weekly coaching calls for and utilizing their programs to be like this. You do my course, say in 90 days, you meet with every week we meet as a group, and that could be like 300 members, students, it depends on how many they have, or 10, but it is scalable. You dive in and it's like, we do module 1 this week, and then we talk about it, you get your questions answered, you implement. So I really think that high touch point also is related to accountability and people actually completing digital products, not just buying them. And then it's like, oh, a year later, I'm like, oh yeah, I bought this online course. I've done it. So I'm such an online course junkie. I have so many. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never implemented this. Yeah.
Same, literally same.
Right. So I feel like you're going to have way higher success rates, way better student testimonials. And that's why you create the products, is you want people to use them and be successful with them. So high touch point services. And if you can combine that into membership sites, recurring, I know people use the term membership site for courses as well. So I'll just explain that, like, the difference is it's a recurring monthly membership fee, and you have access for as long as you're paying your dues. You have access to this, whether it's a community, content. We have a job board in ours. We have the quote unquote Facebook group kind of concept in ours. We do master classes, wellness workshops. Master classes are like the business strategy, wellness workshops. We do masterminds, which basically off a book. I use a book, and then the concepts we like mastermind. It's really fun. So there's different things like that. And it brings a lot, I think, of joy, going back to our pillars, like having that high touch point service, which I think in the past few years, a lot of course creators or a lot of digital product creators or big names were like, no, you don't want, like, that's exhausting, or that's too much of your time, and you need to be able to scale, and like if your time's not scalable. And I think that that's just not the way. Like, we want to be involved with our students, and students want to be involved with us, or members. And so that's why I've seen a lot of people in the industry moving towards membership sites, and then the touch point services. And then the other, I mentioned like 3 to 4, I would say the other one that came to mind as well is sort of organic marketing strategies versus paid marketing strategies. Last year, the whole iOS versus Facebook algorithm thing, like, they no longer connect. And so it's really hard on Facebook for Facebook advertising to target more specifically and get in front of your audience. And a lot of platforms have changed this. And I think that paid marketing is no longer a strategy that I recommend. I actually think that going back to organic marketing strategies, which is why TikTok is now working so well for people, because their algorithms are still, it's not focused on paid advertising. It's still very organic. And I think when you are focused on organic marketing strategies, utilizing Pinterest is a super underutilized thing. You do need to be blogging, but honestly, like, especially for photographers, you guys could have such beautiful visual blog posts and just do a day in the life of the shoot, do like behind the scenes of something, or, here's how I edit, or there's different things. And you don't have to be producing a ton of content to utilize Pinterest. It's a very underutilized platform. And I think that, the back in the day, everyone for online courses would be like, you have to use paid advertising. That's how you get in front of your audience. And it's a big investment, but you'll get big returns. And that's just no longer the case. It's really hard to see your returns. They're starting to dwindle a lot with paid. So finding a way to use organic, and that's, on social media, your email list is going to be your golden ticket to pretty much anything. And just really moving back to that and not really feeling that pressure to invest. And you may scale a bit slower than maybe in the past, but I can tell you that people are just not getting the returns on their paid advertising. So if you're been trying to struggle with, like, maybe you've seen people say this, or you think, oh, I need to do paid advertising, I can tell you that you don't. I think there's just other unique ways to use marketing strategies. And Natalie Bardot, she spoke at our Profit and Thrive conference as a Pinterest expert, and her organic marketing strategy was spot on. So I highly encourage you to check her out, especially for photographers, because you have that visual aspect. It would be really easy for you guys to come up with like blog posts, I think, to drive traffic. And then on Pinterest, you need high quality photos.
Totally. And Pinterest is like where the majority of our clients are anyways, like brides.
Of course.
It's like millions of brides.
Oh my gosh.
And I completely agree. I think, again, there's a lot of fatigue, and I think the self-paced courses they're great, but they're phasing out because, without the high touch points, like people are not using the courses and then they're just sitting there. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
speaking from experience, like, totally agree. And I
Yeah.
actually hosted a mastermind that was on a week to week basis. I would go through each module each week, and
Oh.
having those high touch points, like completely different than having just like a self-paced online
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, I think, when we're thinking of online products, we have to be thinking like with what's trending, how are actually people feeling about like, those high touch points and having more
Mm-hmm.
personalized care and mentorships through that type of thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
everything you said, spot on. And what was that organic thing with Natalie Bordeaux? Where can we find that?
Yeah, I cannot remember her website name, but I will send it to you so you can include it with the notes. But her name is Natalie Bardot, and I think if you Google it, she has a course on Pinterest. I think she has a YouTube channel that's really great, and yeah, she had some really cool strategies. So I
Awesome.
would highly recommend her.
Great. Well, my baby just woke up from his nap. So
Oh,
so he's upstairs and I have to go get him. But before we end
yeah,
here, where
yeah.
can people get in touch with you? What's going on with the bucket list bombshells? Give us all the deets.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you can definitely always connect with us on Instagram at Bucket List Bombshells there, or I've talked a lot about it, but we do have the Bucket List Bombshells Collective, and I would love to see you in there. I'm hosting almost all of the events or co-hosting them. We do masterminding with a book. We do networking events. We have a job board, those community groups. We're trying to coordinate local chapter meetups for people. We have women from around the world, from a lot of different countries inside of there. And I would love to help you grow your businesses, support you in the 4 pillars that I believe in to create a holistic business. And so if you're interested, you can head over to bucketlistbombshells.com/collective member to join us in there. But other than that, you can connect with us on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Shay, this was amazing and so enlightening, like for me. I'm
Oh,
so
great.
happy I had you on. I learned so much from you. You're just so wise and
Oh,
such amazing tips. As far as like having your finger on the pulse with what's going on, I think in this industry too. So
yeah.
I'm super appreciative. I know our listeners are as well. Go reach out to her, get involved, get connected with them. They have an amazing thing going with the bucket list bombshells. I love following you guys.
Oh,
Yeah. Any final words or any last encouragement that you want to give to
oh, I
our
love, okay, I do. Let's see. Remember that life and business can be seasonal, and that when it feels like there is a challenge or obstacle in your way, kind of reframing and remembering that that's potentially and normally an opportunity, even if it feels like a failure. Everybody goes through seasons. I've been in business for a decade now, and I promise that if you are feeling like you are in a valley and you are looking at a mountain, you will reach that peak if you just start taking one step at a time. And I'm here to support you both business strategies and mentally and physically, and well physically wellness wise. I'm all about it. If you are feeling like you are in that valley, please reach out. I would love to help get you to the top of your mountain. And just remembering that life and business is very seasonal, and we're all in a different season at different stages in life and business.
amazing. I'm not even going to add anything to that because just mic drop. All right, Shay, thank you so much for coming on. And thanks everybody for listening. Go give them a follow, leave a review, all of the things. And I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday.